Hello, everybody, and welcome to our broadcast. And you guys know the deal. Every week we bring an entrepreneur to the hot seat, but this week is especially special for me because I have a special co-host with me, Daisha Hanks. Hey, Daisha.
Hey guys.
We have two very special guests for you guys. So just hold on 1 second and we'll be right back. And we're back. And I have a co-host with me today, Daisha Hanks. And we are interviewing father-son, Darren and Drayson Little today. Hi, guys. How are you doing?
What's going on?
Hello. What's going on?
That's great. I'm so glad you guys decided to do this with us. We're super excited. And so we thought we'd take turns and ask you guys one question each. And so I wanted to start with Darren, if that's cool. So
Sure.
Darren, here's the big question. Okay. I know you weren't always a successful entrepreneur. I know you started somewhere. You probably had a job, something else that you were doing. So my question to you is, how did you start entrepreneurship? When was that moment that you thought, I want to do something different? And how did your journey begin?
Well, originally I started my path as an entrepreneur when I was in my early 20s, and I graduated from graphics and visual design school, and I launched my own advertising agency at about 22 years old. So, but right at that time, ironically, the economy hit a massive crash. And right on the front page of the main newspaper here, the Vancouver Sun and Province, it said, "Advertisers buckle up, recession hits." So that was my first sort of run at entrepreneurship. And, at that time, all the companies were coming to me when they were on the verge of bankruptcy for me to try to revamp the company, rebrand them, and reposition them in the marketplace. And they would give me 50% retainer, and then I would go and do the work. And within the 90-day period of time that it took to finish the project, by the time I delivered the material, they'd already gone under. So they left me with all of these printing bills of stuff that wasn't even mine. I couldn't do anything with it other than, use it for kindling or fire, starting fires with. But other than that, it was completely useless. So that actually was my first, I would say, learning experience on really what it takes to go all in and be an entrepreneur, that, you can lose everything. And that's actually what happened to me. That was my first, young little whippersnapper out of college that went all in on his dream. And I ended up losing my entire life savings. I lost everything over that. But, you got to pick up the bootstraps and get back on the horse and go for another ride. And that's basically what I did. Right.
Awesome. That's a great little segment for you to ask your question, because that'll leave everybody wondering what happened next, right?
I love it. So, Drayson, I kind of ask you a similar question because I listened to a couple of the podcast interviews that you had done, and you kind of started this journey a little bit earlier, right? So was it your dad that kind of inspired you to get into entrepreneurship, or how did you get started in all of it?
So every year, a couple times a year, I would always, go out to Vancouver to visit him, right? Whether it be summer, spring break, or Christmas. And ever since I was very young, he'd always do live webinars and do millionaire mentoring and teach people quantum physics, how to talk to people, and how to build relationships. And I believe that subconsciously, while I was playing my video games, that sort of wired me to be this is entrepreneurship. And then over time, I started coming up with ideas, and I was I want to start a business. I want to create some inventions. I want to invent a product. And I kept trying to do that, but then I realized it was super hard to invent something that's not already, invented. And that was when I was 10, 12 years old. But yeah, so my first step was what I wanted to do is use Xbox controllers, take them apart, completely make a new design. So this back in the day, there was two colors. There was white and then there was black. So it's very basic. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a company where we would provide different styles of controllers. So whether it be pink or different colors or a certain design, and then resell it for an extra $20 to $30, at a markup. And that was sort of like my first journey, like step, I guess, as an entrepreneur.
Like 10 years old?
Yeah, like super young, like in middle school.
Awesome.
That is amazing. And I think it's really cool too that you said that it was just when you would go and visit your dad for just a little bit of time. Like it just subconsciously started to stick in there. Like I can't imagine how young you would have started if it was like every single day. So
right?
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's a great beginning though. So Darren, so tell us, so what happened? What did you do when all of this happened? Like, I'm sure you had to be, because I know how all entrepreneurs are. We don't know where the next paycheck is going to come from. And that's like where the fear starts kicking in, What did you do?
Well, the core of everything that I've always done has always been in marketing and advertising. That's been sort of the center post, the foundation. But parallel along the path with that was I was pulled into the personal development industry. I wanted more, and it was really through late night infomercials, tuning in and watching Tony Robbins.
Oh my God.
And what happened was that, I kept they come on at like 2 o'clock in the morning, right? And I would just keep on watching it over and over and over and over and over. And then finally I thought, you know what, like these people just, they just don't look like paid actors. Like they're so sincere with their delivery. I got to do this. I got to get this training. And I invested in the 30-day unlimited power with Tony Robbins. And that was truly what shifted my mindset, which, and it's kind of ironic because that was the starting point of my personal development journey was with Tony Robbins. And, but it wasn't until, I kind of felt like I had gotten to as far as I could get, but I wanted to go deeper. I was kind of like a truth seeker. So, I went out to Stanley Park. I went into the forest one day and I was like, just me and the trees, hanging out. And I was like, I'm ready for my breakthrough.
That's awesome.
And I wanted to go deeper. And it was probably, I'd say about 7 or 8 years later that I met Dr. Lee Poulos, and he was more into the subconscious mind. He was the president for the Canadian Society of Clinical Hypnosis, and he was curing stage 4 cancer patients by teaching them the power of visualization and how to activate their own immune system to fight the cancer. And one of my friends actually, that was friends from when I was 19 years old, he actually was crippled in a wheelchair. He had rheumatoid arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis, and he used Dr. Poulos's training, his visualization training, to walk out of the wheelchair. And that was sort of the next evolution. But it wasn't until I learned about quantum physics and the wave particle theory and manifestation, law of attraction, the equation for manifestation through Dr. Dov Baron, that was like the final circle, that completed everything. So you got your goal setting and overcoming your fears, and then it went into the subconscious mind, your core beliefs about money, and then it went into quantum physics, manifestation, how do we create the reality, and then it was this like boom.
Wow, that's another great like intersection right now. It's so awesome, and I have so many questions I want to ask you. Let me just ask you one. Like, so basically, you think that you had the skills. Obviously, you had the skills to have the job, but mindset was a big role, and basically learning how the universe works. I mean, we live in the universe. When you drive, you need to learn basically you need a driver's license. You need to know the laws in the city. You need to know the laws if you're gonna start a business. But no one teaches us the laws of the universe, which is what nature and we run by. Because even when we don't use the law of attraction is working for us, because when we have negative thoughts, we only produce more of the same. We're just unaware that we're doing it. So you think that was like, that's what put everything together for you?
Well, it's really about understanding how the reality is actually created, okay? Because a lot of people talk about positive thinking, okay? But it's way deeper than positive thinking. It's actually your emotional state. Your emotional state is what creates the physiology in your body, and the physiology in your body is what's broadcasting out and communicating with the electrons. They're smaller than the atoms and the molecules. But until somebody actually understands the connection between their thoughts, their words, and their emotional state, they can't steer it. They're like a victim of circumstance. You have to take charge. You have to take responsibility that it's your thoughts, your words, your emotions that actually is doing the manifestation.
No, you're 100% right. Because some people like get upset because they put on affirmations 24/7. But what they don't realize is they're in a bad mood and they want to stop thinking. And then they put on affirmations and they're like, God damn it, think good thoughts. But they don't understand that their energetic field is already vibrating at that level. But basically, they're just fighting. They're just fighting something that's bigger than them, because it's energy. So you're 100% right. Okay. So go ahead, Tasha. We're going to leave Darren right here, and he'll continue on the next question.
Cool. So, Drayson, I want to kind of go a little bit back here again. So you said that you kind of started out at like 10 years old. I know that you kind of got into adventures like later on. So from 10 years old, when you very first started, until now, with everything that you're doing, what was your biggest struggle that you had to overcome?
So for me, my biggest struggle for just anything was just being addicted to video games. I was like super addicted. Like literally, that was like a drug to me, and I could not do anything else besides play video games. Whether it be going out to dinner, whether it be getting invited to a birthday party, going out to the movies, I would just be stuck at home playing my video games, and that was probably the hardest thing for me to overcome.
Now, how did you like overcome that? Because obviously, I mean, when you're a teenager, you think video games are like your life. So how did you like make yourself aware that, like, okay, this is actually stopping me from getting to where I want to be, and overcome it?
Yeah. So I truly believe, since I was sent to a military boarding school in my sophomore year of high school to my senior year of high school, and what that sort of did to me is like, we had more outdoor activities to do. We had more sports to get involved. They like force you to do stuff, right? So you couldn't be glued inside your room playing video games 24/7, because it's more structured. You have to wake up at 6:30, salute the flag, and then, go back, get breakfast, and then start your day, do your classes. And there's only so much time in a day, and you're always busy, 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 busy. So as the years went by, I sort of drifted away from that and started to socialize with people. I actually played lacrosse, varsity wrestling, and I also did track and field. So that was was the main thing, is being more involved with people, going out, socializing, and sort of getting out of my comfort zone, to sort of, drift away from playing video games.
That's awesome. And you feel like you've more sectioned out and managed your time now, and that's what's really kind of made you capable of actually being able to start up a business so young?
Yeah, 100%. I think time management is really key. At the time where I really started my business was the sophomore year of college, and I'm a biology major. So it's sort of, I originally was supposed to go to the pre-med route, whether it be like an anesthesiologist or like a dermatologist. And being a bio major is like super, super busy. So yeah, I had to like make some sacrifices, don't study a couple extra hours for my exams, miss out a couple of assignments to sort of focus on my business. Like even during breaks at school in the library, I would just focus on business, build the stores, work on ads. And then, that sort of strays me away from school, but I'm not completely like flunking out. Like sure, I get like a B or a C on the exam, but I was still able to make it happen with my business.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, cool.
I think just to sort of expand a little bit on that, you know, like when Drayson was at the military school, that you're not allowed to leave the academy. Like you're in there and you can't, like, it's not like he could, it's not like in high school, like a lot of people get a job as like a busboy at a restaurant, right? He couldn't do that. So he gave me a call one day and he said, Dad, can you show me what you do online? Can you show me how to make money online? So I taught him the Facebook formula. And in his very first 10 days, he made over $2,000. He made $2,069 in his very first 10 days. And I think that of, you know, applying himself for a short period of time and making a few $1,000s, like if he had worked as a busboy, he probably would have had to work 4 or 5 months to make the 2,000 that he made in 10 days, right? And that was sort of his first, like, whoa, this can really happen. And it was that was his bridging point to, he took an interest in Shopify. And he just kept on, you know, diving deeper and deeper and deeper into learning about Facebook ads until he started not only having results himself, but then he started to mentor other people. I think he's got over 200 students now that he mentors and trains with Shopify. But that was kind of like the bridge point to the climb for him. And now, like in December of this last year, when I was in Maui, like he did $1.8 million in sales in 30 days. So, you know, it's pretty exciting.
Wow. That is amazing. That is amazing, Drayson. So I guess boarding school was a good thing. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Darren. So now we know a little bit about Drayson's success. At this point, when you started changing your mindset, when you started about quantum physics and about how we work as a system in conjunction with the universe, what differences did you start to see?
Well, you know, truth be known, it was actually when I was working with Dr. Poulos, okay? And he didn't come into the office very often, right? You know, he was kind of like a celebrity. And he did a lot of training for Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies. So he wasn't like in the office every day, right? But this one particular day, he came into the office and, you know, my light lit up on my phone, right? We had a speakerphone system in the office. And he's like, Darren, can you come into the office, please? And I was like, oh, okay, but Dr. Poulos, what's he going to say? What's he going to say? And I walked into his office, and he was kind of sitting back in his chair. He was kind of looking up into the sky like this. He was just kind of in this trance. And he said, Darren, do you realize that you are where you are right now based upon your thoughts 5 years ago? And as I was standing in front of the desk, it was like part of my consciousness left my body, and I could see myself 5 years earlier. And I wrote out on a piece of paper, I am vice president of an international company doing international business. And there I was, like, that was my role. I was vice president of the company. And then he said, if you want to know where you're going to be 5 years from today, just look at your thoughts today. And it was the same thing. I projected it into the future, and I saw myself as a millionaire, right? And at that moment, I saw the past, the present, and the future all at the same time. And it was through that process of really understanding what he just said to me that propelled me to the next level. And it was actually through the power of visualization, because he said to me, Darren, what kind of car do you want? And I said, I want a Porsche. Hey, I've wanted a Porsche ever since I was a little kid.
Right.
So he said, you know, how serious are you on a scale from 1 to 10? I said, I'm 100. He said, will you do exactly what I tell you to do? I said, yes, I will. So he taught me how to open up all of my senses. And I had to actually, as part of my job, go to the dealership once per week and do a 5-minute visualization center inside the car, okay? But prior to that, I had to open up the gateway by talking to the sales manager and getting the sales manager's permission, and surrendering my pride and my ego and just being vulnerable, and said, look, I got this position, and if I don't do this visualization session once per week for 5 minutes, they're going to fire me. I really need your help. And they were more than willing to, roll out the red carpet. And I did go every single week. It took me 44 sessions before I rolled in there one day and I said, I'm here to pick up my car. And they actually, the sales manager said, you know what, Darren, we knew you were going to get this car. We didn't know when, but it's pretty obvious there was no salesman involved in this transaction. And they dropped like $7,000 off the price of the car right out of the showroom.
Wow. Wow. What an amazing story. Wow. That was awesome. And it just shows, and whoever, I want everyone that gets to listen to this, like the power of your thoughts, that we live in a society that we just become so reactive because, we don't have control over the world that is out there. So we think that is our reality and we just live based on that. So we live our life accidentally instead of living it purposely. But this is what happens when you live your life purposely. This is what happens when you actually plan your life instead of letting it happen to you, reacting to every day, just waking up and saying, oh, here I go, living another day, and saying, no, you know what? I'm going to plan my day. I'm going to plan my life and plan what I want. And then it happens. That's fantastic. All right.
And Darren, you were talking about pride and ego, and I've heard you talk about that like a lot. So Drayson, I wanted to ask you, like, since you had gotten successful at like a younger age, I've seen it happen a lot with people that end up getting like a big amount of money in like a short period of time. Did you face a moment where you had to face your ego and basically surrender your pride and ego so that you could continue on with your success?
Yeah, so it's happened twice since I started in college. So the first time was like when I made $20,000. It just because I was a full-time student, I had like $200 in my bank account. Having $20,000 as a 19-year-old is ridiculous. So it's sort of like a roller coaster. Like you go up and down, up and down. And at the time, I didn't really know how to control it. And the same thing happened again last year, December, when in 2 months we did, or like about 2 months, we did 1.8 million in revenue. And that was just insane because I've literally seen $560,000 in my bank account. And it's just like, wow. Like, so then that was sort of like another thing that happened where my ego just sort of like, took over. And it wasn't really good because you get like a huge crash and it's something that no one wants to undergo. Not just like mentally, but like emotionally. And if you don't pull yourself from that crash, like who knows how far it can go, right? So that was just those are the two things where I experienced my ego taking over me as a person.
And how do you think you could have been a little bit more like prepared for that? Like, is there some advice that you could give to someone that may be going through like the same situation that you were at a young age? Like, what should someone do to make sure that they don't fall into that?
So I would say every morning, try to do like either meditate, write some affirmations down and just try to be as humble as possible, regardless of where you're at in life, whether if you only made $10,000, $5,000, $100,000, $1 million, $10 million, just try to be humble and, meditate every single day to try to like calm yourself, your internal self, and to sort of not let your ego just take you over and just ruin it.
And Darren, would you agree? Do you have anything to add on that?
Well, I think what happens is that when we as human beings take on, I call it God syndrome. Okay, so when you move into the ego, you believe that it's all about you. Okay, but you've got to basically kind of surrender and be grateful and kind of give it up to a higher power and just live in gratitude. But you have to take the focus off of yourself. You have to put the focus onto other people. And when you take whatever it is that you've got from the talent, the skills, the things that you've learned, and it's no longer about you. You're directing that energy to help other people transform. Like Drayson now, I think mentors like 200 people or something like that, right? And that switching off the energy force from yourself over onto other people and getting them to their breakthrough will keep you grounded, and it keeps you in a humble zone because it's no longer about you. Okay, it's about the other people now. So it's about lifting those people up.
Oh, Naomi, are you frozen? Oh, she's frozen. All right. So, Darren, one of the next questions that we were going to ask. So you were kind of talking a little bit about like law of attraction, quantum physics, and all of that, and how that's. Oh, Naomi, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, welcome back. Let's have it.
Oh, I'm so frozen there, but okay. So yeah, so you were talking about losing the ego, and what would you say then, Darren? Was your biggest struggle? At what point did you find yourself at a place where you were like having to like deal with something like that? Did you find yourself in a similar situation and had to like get back on track, or what was your struggle?
For me, it was I was rolling out .com deals like just one after another, and I was raising tens of millions of dollars in venture capital. And I think when I had my first $250,000 day, that was the kind of like the flicker zone. But when, I did like over $1 million in a month, and what happened was I got so much attention, right, in Vancouver, and I was written up in newspaper articles and magazines and radio interviews. And when you're in a position where, you drive up to a hotel that you've never ever been to before, and you don't even know who these people are, the valet, and they open up your door and they say, "How you doing, Mr. Little?" When you're in a position where your friends call you and they say, I went to Earl's yesterday and the table next to me, their entire lunch was talking about you, right? It starts to kind of like change the reality, truth be known, and you don't know it until you're living it, where you go everywhere and people recognize you, right? Or they whisper to each other, and then they're like, oh, they'll turn around to, there's, they're pointing over at you. So I can see how being a Hollywood celebrity, it kind of like it pushes you into that zone, kind of like by default, right? Because it's really about getting so many eyeballs on you constantly, and people kind of like, I don't know, they look up to you like you're, a superhero or something. And it kind of slowly creeps in. I call it the dark Spider-Man, right? It slowly creeps in. And then at some point it starts to take over. And that's when you get into the danger zone. Like I could literally, every deal that I did was just, it would go from zero to hero, from like nothing to $100 million or $200 million market cap. And when you feel that you have that type of power, right? Plus you got all the people that are, stroking your ego to boot, then, and the media coverage and the newspapers and everywhere, it starts to take over. You have to be very, very aware of it.
Yeah. So what happened? Did you notice something happening? Did you notice? Did you get to a point that you were like, "Hey, wait! I think I'm getting a little like too big here. I need to go back to the basics." Like, did you have an experience, or how did you notice that was even happening? Because sometimes we don't even notice.
Well, I think looking back on it now, and I kind of had a little bit of an indicator back then. When I was trying to buy the Batmobile for $1 million.
Oh my God! Yes.
That was pretty much my, like, dude, what are you doing, right? And I look back on it now and I think like, oh my God, like what the heck was I thinking about, right? And this was actually a real situation. I was actually looking at purchasing the Batmobile for $1 million, right? So, you know, and why would a person need to drive the Batmobile? You know what I mean? Like, but that's where the whole process goes, and then it takes over, and then you're like, oh my God, what the heck was I doing?
Oh, fantastic. That's fantastic. So we all have that wake up moment. We all have that wake up moment. So what advice would you give to someone young? Someone young that wants to start a business, someone young that's a little afraid. What advice would you tell them to do first?
Are you asking me or Drayson?
Oh, I'm asking you.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, the one thing that Drayson had kind of going for him at the time, at a very young age, is that kind of like by default, he was kind of in millionaire mentoring without even knowing he was in millionaire mentoring. Mm-hmm. So by far, the number one most important thing is you need mentorship, right? You need, and I'm not talking about YouTube videos. You need somebody that you can actually have a conversation with to know whether or not you're off track or you're on track, so that they can help to steer your ship. So mentorship is by far number one, the most important thing. But the question you got to ask yourself is, are you coachable? Are you coachable? Or are you still holding on to your pride and your ego and thinking that you want to prove your mentor wrong, which is very, very common. So you have to surrender your pride and your ego to even get a mentor. But then you have to surrender your pride and ego again just to be coachable, just to follow the proven formula on what they tell you to do.
Yeah, it's true. That's why I feel personal development is something that everyone should incorporate in their lives, because it helps you so much. It helps you absolutely so much. So did you want to ask Drayson?
Yeah, one more. So, and Darren, I totally agree with you there, because I mean, I did the same thing. Like, I got into Darren's like mentoring program, and I just had this like explosive ego. Oh, I know everything. You know, I've been doing this for 4.5 years, and completely failed. And then I was finally coachable, and even after I had all the information, I still wasn't even taking action on it, because again, I was trying to prove him wrong, right? So, like you said, guys, find a mentor and just be coachable. So, Drayson, I mean, where you already had that mentor by default, for you, what advice would you give to people as well? Like, on top of mentorship, what's like the next important thing or advice that you would give to someone that's just starting out?
So it's fine. Okay. So the next important thing would be try to just self-educate yourself when it comes to like audiobooks, even do some research on sort of like mindset, right? Mindset's really the foundation of anything, whether it becomes like if you're an entrepreneur, if you're, you know, a basketball player, if you're you know, a singer. Mindset is truly, you know, the foundation of it, and you must, like, in my personal opinion, you must master your mindset and your personal development before you can sort of like scale and do, you know, your business or your singing career or whatever you decide to do. So what I recommend is I would listen to you know, a couple audiobooks on Kindle or even on Audible, and just sort of build a foundation of like sort of like changes how you think when you're listening to something else that you don't really listen to. So it sort of changes the way you think, and it helps you in a positive way, because personal development is just, I guess, the key.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, and now what are you guys up to? And are you guys up to anything together?
Yes, we are actually. We just rolled out. We just rolled out a campaign. Like, we just started rolling out a campaign for a brand new cryptocurrency, and this is kind of actually a unique situation, because the entrepreneurs that actually make the most amount of money are the entrepreneurs that can help solve the pain of a specific marketplace. And if you know anything about cryptocurrency, or you've actually ever sent cryptocurrency to anybody, you know, like Bitcoin as an example, there's a high probability that right prior to pressing that send button, that your heart is going, right? Because you don't know if you've got the right address or something is wrong with the address. Well, this particular inventor, what he realized was that was a huge problem. So he took the Bitcoin Core, right? Their core code. And he added 3 security keys to it. So in the event that you were to ever send that crypto to the wrong address, you can use one of your keys to actually pull it back and actually recover it. And it's just been a phenomenal launch. It came out at about $24, and right now I think it's at $435 or something. So it's been very, very highly successful. Drayson has really taken everything that he's learned over these years, and I think in his very first month he's made about $9,000 US. So he's very, very excited about that. You know?
Wow, that's fantastic. So is this a part? Is this what you're talking about? Is this a part that something that you offer as part of your program? Because I know you have a program that you run as well, right?
Yeah, sort of my main core foundation will always be Black Ops. Black Ops Live. We do live millionaire mentoring ongoing for our students, and that's kind of the center post. And a lot of it has to do with personal development, mindset, all these law of attraction strategies that I talk about. But what we do is once you learn that formula, then you can apply it to any different thing that you're marketing or selling. And this particular, is one vertical that we're now rolling out that we just started doing a campaign for. So, Drayson's now, 20 years old. I mean, I figure if somebody that's 20 years old can make it's close to $9,000 his very first month, there's got to be something there,
Yes, absolutely.
So if someone wants to get a hold of that, what's the best way? Just reach out to one of you guys, or?
Yeah, Facebook is actually probably the best way. We're pretty easy to find on Facebook, and just type in our names, see the mug, right? You'll be able to recognize us, and it's kind of like a dream come true, quite honestly, because I always visualized being able to work with my son, and back when he was 5 years old, he came to his very first leadership, personal development training in Las Vegas, and that story that I wrote about that event ended up being featured in Chicken Soup for the Network Marketer Soul as their feature story, right? And here we are now, almost 16 years later, and we're in the industry working together, which is it's kind of bizarre. It's kind of we speaking the reality into existence, right? But that was his first personal development program that he went to, was when he was actually 5, right? So here he is now at 20, and he's a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah. So you guys have been sowing the seeds. It's been in the making. It's been in the making. Well, congratulations to the both of you. I mean, you both have had so much success separately, and I see that you're having already success together. And I know that this is going to be an amazing venture, because I know the both of you. I know you both will do fantastic. I don't know if you wanted to say anything else, Daisha?
Nope, that's it. Thank you guys again. We appreciate you guys so much for jumping on here.
I just want to thank you guys so much for being so honest and sharing your story. And I hope that all the young people that listen, one, see that they have a possibility, that the world is changing, and that the security that once was isn't the same. And so now that we have the internet and we have all of these businesses, all of these entrepreneurs, this is how we're going to change the world. Creating systems like this, and just pushing past those fears, and knowing that, you know what, if you can go out and work so hard for someone else, you could do it for yourself. You could absolutely do it for yourself. So guys, I want to thank you so much once again for participating in our broadcast. And until the next time, be legendary.